Alright, I'm Alex Vel, and we're gonna be reacting to that chapter, and the video is called The Korean Zodiac Killer Case. I know there is other versions of the Zodiac, so, man. Hopefully this is not horrible as the original one, but we are gonna be reacting to this. I was gonna actually react to the Houdini one, the Fallen Rappers. We're gonna be doing that for probably next week, so I think Friday might be the days I might do the true crime stuff, but I don't know. We continue reacting to videos here. I never heard the Korean Zodiac Killer one, so this is new to me. But I heard about the original one, but you know, there's always a lot of copycats and stuff like that. But let's go, especially for serial killers. There always someone try to copycat, mimic the original serial killers, but that's just strange to me end of the day. But let's get started here.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike.
Oh, hello. Hello. And let's get I do like Mike's video, so hello to him. I try to try to send him a message so I could get his permission, but hopefully he's cool with this. But let's go.
Mike, and in this whole video, my friends, we are going somewhere we've never ventured before, and that is the beautiful, it looks like on TV, country of South Korea. I'm pretty
damn. I thought it was gonna be on the north, but I guess it's the South Korea, because north, I don't know, if you say something really bad over there for the north, they probably ain't executing you by Kim. By Kim Jong, because he technically kind of executed some of his family members. We heard about that, but god damn. All right, let's go. Get back to the video though.
excited about this, not gonna lie. I mean, I suppose not sure if I should be, because, well, you know. This is a long story, went on for quite some time, beginning in the 80s, ending in 2020.
Oh damn. That's what, like 40 years or something like that? Probably more than that. Yeah, 40 years. Actually 41, since it's 2021 now, since it started in the 80s. 41 years now. But with the technology nowadays, they're way better, and probably a lot of CCTV and stuff like that too nowadays everywhere. So you are gonna get captured one way or another. But let's continue here.
Twists and turns galore. I'd say they should make a movie of it. They have, and the movie is real good. But the movie is, like, less crazy than what actually happened in real life. And that is something I'll tell you about right now. Via me, you know, butchering the pronunciations of Korean names and places. So,
Yeah, I would too. I'll butcher probably all of them. So, I'm with you with that, Mike. I'll be butchering everything too as well.
look forward to that. Let's give it a give. It is to Hwasong we're off to, a city about an hour south of capital Seoul. It is a rural enough city in Gyeonggi province. Primarily known for agriculture, Hwasong is really the breadbasket of Seoul. It would be known for rice farming along the floodplains, though recently it has seen a factory boom. Today, it has a population of over 600,000 people. But we're not going to be talking about today. At least not yet. No, we're going to go back about 30 years, when Hwasong was a bit more agricultural than it is today, but you still had, like, factories and farms right beside each other. Perfect place for a serial killer to come and go as they pleased. And for 5 years, they did. In 1988, the people of Hwasong lived in constant fear. The constant fear was reinforced, you know, on the morning of the 17th of September, when another weight was added. That morning, 14-year-old girl named Park Sang-hee was found murdered in her own bed, in her family home. She had been sexually assaulted and
Damn. R.I.P. to her though. But let's get back.
strangled. Park Sang-hee was not the first victim. No, far from it. She was actually victim number 8.
God damn. 8? That's insane. We're gonna figure out how many murders this person actually ended up getting.
But it might have been the worst one up until that point, due to her age and the fact that she was attacked in her own bed with just a wall separating her from her parents, who slept through the entire thing. This was a grim reminder of who was out there. Something that had been, out there for 2 years at this point. Almost 2 years to the day previous, on the 15th of September 1986, 71-year-old Lee Wan-im was on her way home from visiting her daughter. And as she was walking home on a quiet country road in Anyangdong, she was attacked. Her naked body was found 4 days later in a rice field, not far from her home. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled to death. So this was number 1. And as to who could have done this, there was no evidence left behind. This instantly became the talk of this quiet, simple, country town. And as that talk, started to die down, happened again. On October 20th, 1986, 25-year-old Park Hyun-suk got off the bus from town at about 10 p.m. She disappeared straight after as she walked home that dark night. On the 23rd of October, her body was found in a canal. Once again, same modus operandi, sexually assaulted and strangled to death. So that's 2 victims within a month of each other. The bodies were discovered 15 minutes apart. Both assaulted and killed in the same way. Not exactly hidden. Their bodies were left not far from where they were attacked, pretty much like out in the open. Little to no evidence was also left behind this time, though they did find a trace of semen. This was the 80s though, so there wasn't really much you could do other than...
Yeah, especially in the 80s or later on, it was probably kind of difficult to match anyone, but especially now, if you look at the technologies and the things they actually end up doing, it's really, really good. So it's going to be a lot easier nowadays. And the technology now is still going to get way, way better. And like, how are you going to get away with some of these crimes? Because back then, yeah, you probably could have got away with crimes, but now, most likely not, since a lot of people have cameras and all that stuff too as well. Back then, you don't really see that many people actually have cameras, but now, since like everything a lot happens, yeah, everyone has cameras, even the doorbell too as well. The ring, if you have the ring for the doorbell, that actually could see some stuff too as well you could use. But here we go.
Yeah, that's that all right. And then 2 months later, dread returned. On the 12th of December, a housewife, 25-year-old Kwon Jung-bon, disappeared from her neighborhood. The same neighborhood the first victim was murdered in. She wasn't found for 4 months, and this time when she was found, it was the same story. She'd been gagged with her stockings, her underwear was over her face, and bodily fluid was once again found on her. 2 days after Jung-bon went missing, on the 14th of December, 23-year-old Lee Kai-suk got off a bus from town. Last seen walking home at 11 p.m. A week later, her body was found in a rice field. Hands tied behind her back, girdle over her head. Definite pattern was beginning to emerge here, and everybody started shitting bricks, right? There was definitely a serial killer.
Yeah, they always have their own pattern, and then eventually they'll try to change it up once in a while to try to throw off the police and detectives and all that stuff. But let's go.
Amongst them, somewhere in like this rural enough area, women walking home alone at night, not a good idea. But then again,
yeah, I'd be scared of walking at night. Just not as girls, but also men too. I'd be scared of walking alone as well, especially at night. God damn, you never know what's happened. They could be hiding anywhere, in a bush, behind a tree, on top of a tree, anywhere, or even in a bush. But yeah, I'd rather not even walk at night, or even in general, especially at night. That'd be more scarier. It's a lot harder to see, but depending if you have a dog or something, they'll probably bark at it, but everything else. That's why it's good to actually have something on you, like pepper spray, or even I know some people will have knife or guns too as well, but just depending where you live, because some places you can't really carry guns. But let's go.
One of the victims was taken from pretty much like right outside her house. She wasn't walking home, she was home, so they were kind of fucked either way. Police were, scratching their noggin, not doing much, and the local people who were, obviously absolutely terrified, they started looking for comfort and help from other sources beside the authorities, who seemed useless. Shamanism was turned to for protection from this bastard, and the police, growing frustrated and knowing people were frustrated with them, began to turn to violence themselves. During the entire investigation, police looked into more than 20,000 people as possible suspects. They spent millions of man-hours on the case, with jack shit to show for it. And so, well, desperate times lead to desperate measures. You did it though, didn't you? Come on. You can tell me all, buddy. We'll share a glass of soju and you can tell me all about it. That kind of shite began to happen. They would drag people into the police station to have the shite kicked out of them. People who were just scared out of their wits.
Damn, that's definitely... It gotta suck. Even if you're innocent and they're just doing that on you, yeah. They're trying to make you confess that you actually end up murdering so they can move on with the cases. But goddamn, I'd be scared too.
It's mentally disabled. Anybody is like, you did it, you fucker, you did it. Over the next couple of years, 4 people who had been basically interrogated by the police would take their own lives. And I believed...
Oh damn, RIP to those four people there just because of that. Damn, that sucks.
To be, due to the assaults by the police, the stalking, the harassment the police were doing on people they thought could be the serial killer. So quite a few things weren't done the right way. And as we will see later, quite a few things that should have been said weren't by the pack of bastards. But the killer was still,
free.
Each month, Honey is giving away tons of free stuff in the Honey Sweeps, like
LaCroixed cookware.
It would have been...
Yeah, he's still walking free, but damn, sucks for those guys though. That being interrogated and then getting beat up just because they think. That's what you shouldn't be doing, is thinking. It should be either a fact or it is not.
On the 11th of January 1987, 19-year-old high school student Hong Jin-young was found dead in a rice field. She was last seen the night before, just about 9 p.m, when she got off the bus. Jin-young was once again tied up, gagged with her socks, and sexually assaulted. She was then strangled to death with her own clothing. After time, well, as I said, superstition started kind of returning to the area. People believe the killer was targeting women wearing red, like a bull. If you wore red, Jesus, you're fucked. Sorry, you made the list. And so, nobody, especially women, they stopped.
Oh, damn. Red used to be my favorite color, but not really anymore. But, I don't know why that's in part of the story, but yeah, red, oh goddamn. That definitely sucks.
Wearing red altogether around this time in hopes of avoiding a brutal encounter. Unfortunately, the killer wasn't so picky. On the 2nd of May, 29-year-old Park Eun-ju went missing while delivering an umbrella to her husband. She was found a week later, on a hill, same condition as the previous victims. And throughout this entire time, there were a number of sexual assaults in the area committed by the killer. They knew this because the modus operandi was the same. He would put their underwear over their heads, only he didn't kill them. It would then go quiet for a few months. Spring turned to summer, turned to autumn, but...
That's the thing, that's what a lot of serial killer does. They sometimes take months, and then they'll come back again, and then they'll slow down, because you never know. Are they in prison, or are they doing something that we don't even know? But end of the day, sad for all these women here.
The dread never left. Then, on the 8th of September 1987, he struck again. This time, 54-year-old An Gi-soon. She had, once more, gotten off the bus and was walking home when she was attacked. Her body later found in a canal. It was at this point, once more, a woman attacked while she was walking home off the bus. It seemed like the killer was taking the piss. It seemed like he was just making a mockery of like the police. He could come and go. He could do whatever he wanted. And he knew it. They would have undercover, female police officers out there wearing red, walking around the place at night. Hey, look at me. He never once fell for it. However,
wonder why. Maybe is he a police officer? Because if he know what they were doing, maybe that's why. Just because he's probably maybe in the police force. I know there's some serial killers who wear police uniforms too as well. But let's continue here.
They were getting somewhat closer. A sketch was made of the possible killer, based on a description from the bus driver who dropped off An Gi-soon, and this was reinforced by survivors of sexual assaults in the area. The man was in his mid to late 20s. He was 165 to 170 centimeters tall. He had a sharp nose and neatly cut short hair. One survivor also added the man's hands were soft. She remembered that from when he placed his hands around her mouth during the attack. Now,
why the hell does that picture almost look exactly like me? Yeah, god damn it.
Most people who lived in that area would be, blue-collar, manual labor workers. So a guy would, soft hands. Yeah, that would stand out. And so these posters went up everywhere. That probably scared the bejesus out of the killer because for an entire year, he didn't strike again. Until when we go back to where I started this story. In September 1988, when 14-year-old Park Sang-hee was brutally attacked in her own bedroom. And this is when they finally got a break in the case, right? Finally, after 2 years of constant attacks. And it led to a man named Yoon Sung-yeol. Sung-yeol was 22 years old, living in one of the villages in Hwasong. He had a limp and worked at a local farming machine repair shop. He got the laser eyes from the cops, right? And when the police...
Laser eye? I did get laser eye too, so that at least I don't have to wear glasses anymore. And man, back then my eyes were so bad, but at least laser kind of helped that, so I don't have to wear glasses or anything like that anymore. Because man, I think mine was like at almost 8 or something. It was pretty awful. But let's go.
Police found a pubic hair at the crime scene of Park Sang-hee. It was determined there was a 40% chance of being Sung-yeol's. So 40%, is that even a pass mark on an exam? I mean, 40% means probably not, but there you go.
Yeah, 40%. That's not good. If it's like 99.8, 90 or something like that, that'd be better. But 40, that's like not even a chance right there. So not even 50-50 either. God damn.
Yeah. He was taken into an interrogation room and held for 3 days. And he confessed to the murder of 14-year-old Park Sang-hee. According to himself, that night he was out and about for a walk with his limp, and then he saw a light emerging from a house. He said he felt, quote, an urge to rape, and in he went.
Really? That's just weird.
That was that. And he was charged with the murder. A murder, 1 of 8. They tried to see if he was related to the other 7. At this point, nothing. Didn't seem like that at all. And in fact, 2 more murders would occur while he was actually in custody. Yoon Sung-yeol was determined to be a copycat killer. Obviously, a big...
Yeah, of course. There's just so many copycats of every version of serial killers, which is kind of sad. I wish there wasn't like that. I know some people even try to copy the combine shooting at the high school too as well. Man, that's just really pathetic. But let's move on.
Big fan of the real killer, known as the Hwasong killer, or also called the Korean Zodiac killer. So that's 1 of 8 solved. Getting there, in November 1990, 14-year-old Kim Mi-jun's body was found on a hill. This was, well, it had been 2 years since a murder. 3 years since, the police believed the actual serial killer struck. And it seemed like he had been saving up. Kim Mi-jun's hands and feet were tied together, her bra used as a gag, and multiple items were used to assault her, including a ballpoint pen, a fork, and a razor blade. 5 months later, in April 1991, 69-year-old Kwon Soon-sang was last seen, you know the drill, getting off a bus. Her body was found the next day, and from how it was found, it was clear who was behind this. Same guy, almost 5 years later, still out there. From there, things would go quiet for a couple of years, right? Until there would be another murder. Not in Hwasong though, this time. This time it was in a place called Cheongju, about 2 hours southeast. There, I would like you to give a good ol' annyeonghaseyo to a guy named Lee Chun-jae. On the 18th of January, 1994, Lee Chun-jae was arrested for the sexual assault and murder of his 18-year-old sister-in-law. Apparently,
Really? Even, damn, your own family member too. Well, that happens a lot too, so it's not like once. It does happen with a lot of serial killers. Sometimes they even kill their own family members too as well.
Chun-jae's wife left him, and so a few weeks later he lured his sister-in-law over, drugged her, assaulted her, and then killed her. He then disposed of her, hiding her under a tarp at the back of his shop. When people went looking for her, well, Lee Chun-jae was a great man, he was a big help. When her body was finally discovered...
Isn't that what they all say? Especially family members, even if they're kids or daughter or even anybody, like they are always nice and friendly and all that stuff, but not all of them are, because that's what all their parents will always say, even if they do any type of crimes, but nah.
A few days later, Lee Chun-jae became suspect number 1 and, arrested. After he asked the police, here, come here, dude. Just shoot the shit off the dome. How many years do you serve for rape and murder in South Korea? Curious. He was arrested, charged, and found guilty of her murder. He was sentenced to death in May 1994, but this was later reduced
Which he should. The death sounds about right.
to life, possible parole.
Exactly, because you took all those people, or, well, this guy right now took his sister-in-law. If you take someone's life, I could see eye for eye, death for death. So technically, this is correct. So he should be dead, or death sentence here.
After 20. So who was Lee Chun-jae really? An absolute monster wearing human skin. He was born on the 31st of January
The hell? Human skin? Jesus Christ, this guy is already crazy.
1963 in Hwasong. He was quiet as a boy, even quieter after his sister died of drowning when he was very young.
Ever get the feel?
He was allegedly sexually abused as a kid, not much is known there. He finished high school in 1983, entered the military as part of the conscription they have in Korea. It's mandatory to spend between 18 and 21 months in the military.
Yeah. I think that's for North as well. Even if technically you're gonna have to be in the army for sure, so that definitely sucks that you're gonna have to be in it. They technically force you to have to be in the army, which in the United States they're not gonna force you, but if you want to, you are gonna be in it. But here we go.
Lee Chun-jae would become a tank driver, and he was out of the army in 1986, January of that year. He went home after he got out of the army, and the first murder would occur in Hwasong 8 months later. So after he left the military, he seemed alright, happy out. Doing alright. He was really anything.
Doesn't look too good because you never know. They could go crazy and stuff like that, and they'll probably do something like this guy. Let's go.
But after leaving the military, he had no drive in his life. He just had an urge, and he had fantasies, both of which would get stronger and stronger. In February 1986, he would go out at night, dressed in black, waiting for vulnerable women to show up. Unfortunately, they did. And over the next few months, he would assault over half a dozen women. Eventually, sexually assaulting them wasn't enough, and in September 1986, he would become, or set off on the road to becoming, a serial killer. As I said, right, he would...
Eventually, they start from some petty stuff, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, then they do something like this.
Finally be arrested in 1994 for the murder of his sister-in-law, but he wouldn't be linked to the Hwasong murders until much later. It was in 2019 that forensic science caught up with him. He was still incarcerated at the time, his profile in the system, but he refuted that he had anything to do with those serial killings. But it wasn't just DNA they had at the time pointing to him being what's called the Korean Zodiac killer. In 1989, he was arrested for breaking and entering. He got a year and a half for that.
Of course, knew it. He started from doing something a little bit petty, and then eventually it will get something higher and higher every single time. And then he get those type of drilling and kind of stuff, and then they do something crazy.
During that time, there was no murders. He also lived, at the time of the serial killings, with his wife in a house right smack dab in the middle of, the danger zone. He didn't want to go too far for his hunting ground. He would eventually confess to being the killer, probably the most famous in Korean history. He would also confess to 4 more murders, bringing his total to 15.
Goddamn, 15. Jesus Christ. R.I.P. to all of them, though.
So that is the 10 Hwasong victims from 86 to 91. Then his sister-in-law in 1994. And in between all that, there was another 4 people he killed.
To me, I got a feeling there gotta be more than that, right? That we never know. He probably could have done more killings, that maybe some of these women's never been found.
Gyeongnam Provincial Police Agency said Wednesday that the suspect in a string of murders in Hwasong City in the 1980s has confessed to the killings that shook the nation at the time. Police had been investigating the prime suspect after the National Forensic Service found that DNA collected from the underwear of one of the victims matched the suspect's DNA. The male suspect in his 50s is currently in prison for murdering his sister-in-law. He initially denied being the Hwasong City murderer, but finally confessed in the face of mounting evidence, including new DNA matches and witness accounts. He also says he committed another 5 murders, and police are looking to verify his claims.
In December 1987, he murdered 18-year-old Kim Mi-soon in Suwon, north of Hwasong. In July 1989, he took 8-year-old Kim Hyun-jung. She's never been found. Then, 17-year-old Park Soon-ja in January 19...
Yeah, got a feeling there's probably way more that they haven't found yet or never been found. R.I.P. to all of them, though.
91 in Cheongju. And also in Cheongju, 27-year-old Kim Jin-ah in March 1991. He also confessed to over 30 sexual assaults. By the way, you'll notice that I said 10 murders in Hwasong. Right? That's because in 2019, Lee Chun-jae was in court. Not for himself. He was a witness at the retrial of Yoon Sung-yeol, who killed the 14-year-old Park Sang-hee. Or did he? He confessed, right back then. He confessed under great duress.
Yeah, I think some people kind of confess even though they didn't really do the murder. I don't know why, but that's what they do. Sometimes they just confess and get over with, but even though some of them are not really guilty or anything like that, they just do it for some reason. I personally don't know, but
you might too.
Well, we kind of know. Maybe it's just because of the police forcing them and all that stuff too as well. That could be the other reason, but for no reason. I don't think there's for no reason, but for a police officer, maybe they're just threatening them to try to get him confess, and then they'll do their job there. But at the end of the day, interrogation, sometimes it could go worse or bad, and they'll try to force you to say that you did end up murdering some of these people, even though you didn't really kill anybody. You could be innocent, even though sometimes police will try to get you confess. But does it work all the time? No, but then again, they try to force you. That's why you should always try to get a lawyer before speaking at all.
If the police did to you what they did to him,
저 같은 사람이 안 나오길 바라는 뿐이고 모든 이 공정한 재판이 이루어졌으면 하는 제 바람입니다.
Since Yoon was confirmed innocent, he will receive criminal compensation for his 20 years after being in prison.
I know some people get money, but some people don't, because some people are in. I know there's a lot of people in U.S. still to this day. Some of them are probably still innocent, even though they've been in prison for like 40, 50, even 60 years, maybe even less than that. But yeah, there are people who are probably still innocent from their crimes, but they are still in prison.
And it is estimated that Yoon will receive compensation of up to 1.76 billion won.
That's not enough, really, to me personally, because if he's been in prison for that long, it should be way more than that.
When multiplying the amount of compensation per day and the number of days in custody. According to the Korean Herald, Yoon said he has forgiven Lee as well as the police officers who tortured him. He said, "I had to make peace with the past and the people who wronged me and accept the fact that some things can't."
Because these people, like, even though they're innocent, like, when they come back out of prison, like, the technology is way different when they were in prison, and then when they get out, everything is way different. Computers are different. Back then, they probably didn't have computers. Nowadays, they do have way better computers, way better phones, and stuff like that. Back then, they didn't have the iPhones. If you're like in prison for 20, 30 years, now you're getting out now. Yeah, they didn't have all these stuff. Technology, driving, probably some of them don't even know how to drive, but now try to get a driver license, getting a job too, could be really, really difficult, especially in the United States. Getting jobs in general is kind of hard, but then again, at least, especially if you have a crime on your record, that's going to make it even harder. But since probably they're going to wipe it off of their records though, so let's go.
Be changed so that I can move on.
immediately after he confessed, he denied it, said he had nothing to do with anything. That fell on deaf ears. He said he had been intimidated and tortured. It didn't matter. He was still sent away for 20 years.
Damn, 20 years. That's a lot of years, and that's all he got. 1.3 or whatever it was. 1.6. That he should definitely got way more than for that 20 years.
못해요. 근데 자식이 어떻게 되는지도 몰라. 그래가지고 그 생각이 지금도 나질 않아요. 하루 이틀 잠 못 자잖아요. 아무 생각이 안 나요. 그래서 자고 싶다는 생각이 안 들어. 계속 잘 된다면서도 자면은 가서 깨우고 살을 잠 못 자. 물 먹고 빵 쪼가리 한두 개 먹고 살을 버티겠어요? 못 버텨요. 그래가지고 내가 뭔 얘기 했는지도 생각이 안 난다는 거예요.
In 2019, Lee Chun-jae would confess to killing 14-year-old Park Sang-hee in her room. He described it in great detail. There never was a copycat killer, just the action.
Yeah, for this one, there's no copycat. I feel sorry for him because they try to make him as the copycat, and then beating him up, and then putting him in a prison cell for 20 years. For what? Really? Damn, that kind of suck.
An actual killer who would actually come out and say he couldn't believe it took them that long to catch him. He said he never really tried to hide from the cops. Quote, "I still don't understand why I wasn't a suspect. Crimes happened around me and I didn't try hard to hide things, so I thought I would get caught easily. There were hundreds of police forces. I bumped into detectives."
Personally, I wish they caught him a lot sooner because it will be way less death and we won't be... And some of these women still would have been alive at this point, but for them to take that long, yeah.
all the time, but they always asked me about people around me. There was one occasion where I was brought into the police station after being searched, but I was never put on the list of suspects. There were multiple occasions in which I could have been caught, and I don't understand why I never was. He really could not believe the incompetence of the police. And guess what else you won't believe? Lee Chun-jae will never face prosecution, conviction for any of the murders he did in Hwasong.
But
Wonder why. I was about to say, did he kill himself? But we'll see here.
even if the suspect was the murderer in the infamous Hwasong case, he will not be punished for those crimes as the statute of limitations expired in April 2000.
Damn, really? Expired? I wish they changed that. In general, they should not have any limitation at all. They, really? For this guy? Oh, that's just dumb.
6. The serial killings received renewed national attention when the case was made into 2003 movie Memories of Murder. Over 20,000 people were investigated
Like, especially these kind of crimes, I think no. There should be no any damn limitation at all. If you murder someone, that should still stick, man.
for those murders, a figure that hasn't been broken since.
He'll get off those 10 scot-free because the statute of limitations expired in 2006. Yoon Sung-yo was released in 2009. However, he'll never get those 20 years he spent behind bars.
Yeah, the 20 years. I thought he was gonna say the other guy who, the killer, got out. I'm like, what the hell? He did? Oh, I'll find him. Oh, man.
Falsely, back in 2019, he was acquitted when the real killer confessed to everything. 8 of the original investigators who did him in back then were later charged with abuse of power
and they should be, because they weren't doing their job, really, and they're beating up someone innocent, really. If that was the other guy, then I'll be cheering for that, but not for this one.
stripped of their titles. That wasn't the only shitty thing the cops did. One of the additional murders Lee Chun-jae confessed to was that of 8-year-old Kim Hyung-jung in 1989.
Damn, an 8-year-old too, man, that's...
Her body was never found. Or at least that's what the police said. Yeah, her body had actually been found by the police back then, but they covered
Really? Damn. They even covered up for this guy? Even though he was the murderer? Jesus Christ, man.
it up. They also hid some of her belongings and never told anyone, especially not her desperate parents. When they found her, it was obvious she had been murdered, but the police let it remain a missing persons case, so they wouldn't have to do much about it. This only came out.
Pretty much seems like they've been kind of lazy with this crime, like trying to find this guy, really, because they beat up a innocent person, now a person who got murdered, and you hide it for what? For what reason? Just because you don't want to do the job or something?
When Lee Chun-jae confessed. Again, 2 police officers were charged when it all came out. Due to the statute of limitations.
Again. They should just get punished in general.
Nothing can be done. Lee Chun-jae is definitely not the only criminal in this old one. He's definitely the worst, for sure. He never showed any remorse for the 15 people he murdered.
And why? No killers are always... They never do that. They're not going to be crying or being sad. Give me a second. I'll be right back. The dog was barking because I want to see what's going on, but I thought it was like some package or something coming in, but it was not. Let's continue here.
And he will die behind bars for all the horror he committed. Victims left behind. Victims like Yoon Sung-yo, spending 2 decades behind bars for a crime he didn't commit, and the parents of Kim Hyung-jung, who are waiting 30 years for their daughter to come home.
Damn, 30 years. I feel bad for that family, since the things the police did, they could have at least told them about their daughter, but instead, for hiding it, man, those police officers sure deserve some punishment for it. I don't give a damn about limitation. God damn it. They need to change those rules.
A lot of tragedy in this one. And there you have it. Shanae, if you're interested in this case, I guess there's a South Korean movie based on it. It's called Memories of Murder.
근데 서울에서도 이런 거 자주 보나? 전혀.
I'd recommend the movie, it's good, and what's funny about it is that it came out in 2003, so over 10 years after the murders were committed, but before they knew who was behind it, before Lee Chun-jae was found responsible for them. What's super interesting about it is that they actually got a lot of things right about who the killer would be. And it was done by your man who made Parasite, Bong Joon-ho.
Oh, that guy. That's pretty cool. I might end up trying to find that movie and watch it, actually.
Memories of Murder ends with the main character staring at the camera, looking at the killer in the audience, who, when the movie was released, was still out there, haunting South Korea for some time.
That's probably gonna be the end of the video there. So we're watching the Korean Zodiac killer case. So I might end up watching that movie if I could find it. I'm not sure where it's gonna be on, but I'm gonna eventually I'll check it out and see how that movie is. I kind of want to see, maybe do a review on that movie. Who knows? I'm definitely gonna be watching that. But the story, yeah, that's kind of sad. R.I.P. to all those girls and women who got murdered by this guy here. And I feel bad for the guy who was in prison for the murder he didn't really do. So he spent 20 years. So to me, at least he's out now. But I wish, I'm hoping he is doing well now, since he's, I'm not sure how long he's been out of prison, but oh yeah, a couple years now, since 2019 that he got out. So it's been only 2 years. So I'm hoping he has a pretty solid life now, out of prison, doing well, making money and stuff like that too as well. But personally, they should probably give him way more than what they actually did. Then for the other people too, wasn't 4 of them that committed suicide because of all the police interrogation and beating them up and all that stuff. RIP to those people too as well. But for the serial killer, I just hope he dies. But end of the day, I'll see you guys next time. I'm Alex Vo. Have a good one.